We start tonight with a bombshell out of western Idaho. Accused Idaho killer Bryan Kohberger has accepted a plea deal. This development came down just an hour ago. Kohberger is accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students in their Moscow home in 2022. Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xander Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were stabbed to death. Kohberger's trial was set to begin in August, but that won't happen now. As part of his deal, Kohberger will plead guilty to 4 murder charges. He will serve 4 life sentences without the chance for parole. Kohberger will avoid the death penalty through this agreement. To break down this surprise deal, we're joined by attorney Ann Bremner now. And thank you for being here with us, Ann.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
And you followed this case from the very beginning. Why do you think this plea came now?
You know, I think the timing, jury selection is a lot sooner, of course, than the trial date, which is set in August. They'd probably have to use a month to pick a jury in this case and find a death-qualified jury. And it is a bombshell. Even the timing to me is a bombshell. I can't figure out, like, why at this juncture they would reach this agreement with him, especially when at least one victim family is against it and has voiced that concern already. So I'm interested to see what they're saying. They've written one letter where they talked about justice and closure for the family and things like that. But there's got to be more to it in terms of the timing and in terms of making this huge about face in terms of the penalty in this case.
Do you think the defense always planned for Kohberger to plea, or were they pushing for a trial?
You know, it's interesting because it says, well, he accepted a plea deal. So that connotes that there was something offered to him that he didn't go and seek. But we know all along they were trying to get it off the table. It's a win for the defense in a case like this to get death off the table. It doesn't matter if it happens at the penalty phase where they win or at this juncture. It's a win. So over time, they keep coming in and saying, death penalty should be off the table for this reason. It should be off the table for this reason with this mental state, autism, etc. So they've attacked the death penalty a number of different times. Legally, with the judge, they've lost. But somehow now they've reached an agreement with the prosecutor that it is going to be off the table.
And as you just mentioned, the death penalty has been ongoing. We have consistently heard about this. Can prosecutors try to put it back on if they want?
Well, it's their discretion. Yeah, you know, we see some cases where judges come in on the death penalty, the issue of deciding to give it or seek it, et cetera. But it's their decision. And we've got the prosecutor himself and then the AGs, a couple assistant AGs. We've got the former United States Attorney of Idaho on this prosecution team. So you know that they've been giving this a lot of thought and a lot of internal debate, you know, conceivably, to make this decision. Could they come back and say, you know what, we changed our mind? We'd have to see, because Kohberger will come back and say, I relied on your promise, etc. But I don't see him doing that now. I just don't. I mean, they've made this huge announcement, and it's just devastating, I think, when you hear something like that, at least for those that believe in victims' rights and, of course, these families.
And speaking of, the family of Kaylee Gonzalez has already released a statement saying they're beyond furious about this agreement. In cases like this, how do prosecutors navigate negotiations with the defense and conversations with those victims' families?
Well, it's a delicate balance, as you know, but the fact is they have to do it. And there's victims' rights legislation all through the country, which says you have to confer with victims' families before you make any kind of a decision on bail, death penalty, and things like that. It sounds like they didn't, at least according to the family. They said, this is a surprise to us. You know, that surprised me, because usually, like you said, there's that balance of dealing with the defense internally in the prosecution, but also with victims' families.
And what do you think we should be looking out for next? What do you expect to happen in the next few days?
Well, I think there's a hearing on Wednesday, the 2nd, and that could well be the date that he enters his plea. And they go through the whole litany of questions on whether it's a voluntary plea, and also potentially, you know, hear from the victims' families if they're going to attend the hearing. It might well be just to set a new date in the future, because you're going to have a plea, and then you don't usually sentence somebody the same day. But the sentencing is where we're really going to be hearing from family, you know, from friends of the victims. This is a horrible, horrible crime, and nobody's had a chance yet to tell their side and how this has impacted them. And so maybe it's to set a hearing, a number of days probably, for that particular reason of hearing from everybody affected, and that's at the sentencing.
Ann Bremner, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.